The FDA says immunocompromised Americans can get a COVID-19 vaccine booster. We'll hear from local health professionals about the decision. Plus, what experts say about activities families should avoid to prevent COVID-19 infections in kids.
It's move-in day at MSSU, but with the Delta variant still raging, this year's move-in day is looking a lot like last year's. You'll hear what students and parents think coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The Joplin School Board met in a special session tonight to approve a re-entry plan for the upcoming school year. This is KOAM News at 10. The board was presented a plan and after discussion decided to accept it with some modifications. The first of which, masks for students and staff will be voluntary at all district buildings. Additionally, students and staff who are identified as a close contact and required to quarantine may remain in or immediately return to school provided they wear a mask while in district buildings and exhibit no COVID symptoms. Now, after 10 days, that person won't have to wear a mask, or if they provide a negative test result within 5 days, they can stop wearing a mask at that time. Third doses of COVID-19 vaccine are approved for certain Americans. The FDA says roughly 7 million U.S. adults who are immunocompromised can get a third dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. Larry Bergner at the Newton County Health Department expects more guidance from the state early next week on the full requirements and a more comprehensive list of conditions that would make residents eligible. After that happens, he expects getting the third dose to be pretty straightforward.
What I envision is that if someone calls asking about that third dose, we'll have them talk to their primary care physician just to make sure that their physician is in agreement that they do meet that criteria, and then we'll be glad to give them that booster dose.
The FDA says people who are eligible can get a third dose 28 days after receiving their second dose. The agency did not mention additional doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There's no clear evidence that the Delta variant is causing more severe disease in children, according to a top U.S. health official. But Dr. Anthony Fauci says it's putting more kids in the hospital through, quote, sheer infection numbers. So what activities should your family avoid to lower the risk of your young child contracting COVID-19? Mandy Gaither has more.
The Delta variant continues to quickly spread across the U.S., but right now the youngest Americans can't get the best protection there is, a vaccine.
The only thing we know for sure is that more infections mean more children will be in the hospital.
For those under 12 not yet eligible for vaccination, top U.S. health officials continue to say masking and physical distancing are key. What you do beyond that depends on your child's risk factors.
I would probably not have any of my kids who are still too young to be vaccinated go to one of those big sleepovers where you have multiple, 5, 6 kids.
But Dr. Perry Wilson with the Yale School of Medicine says a one-on-one slumber party may be more manageable, just mixing 2 households. And the biggest COVID risk for kids under 12 who aren't vaccinated, the same as it is for unvaccinated adults.
Those are indoor, crowded activities where people aren't wearing masks.
Wilson says outdoor activities are relatively safe, but
if you're packing indoors because you want that air conditioning, or when the weather gets colder, if you're packing indoors to get the heat, that's when the risk of transmission is going to be high.
And if you feel any COVID-19 symptoms, regardless of vaccination status, Wilson says to get tested.
Especially if you're living with unvaccinated people, because you'll be fine, but you might be putting them at risk.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Being vaccinated makes you less likely to have the severe symptoms of COVID-19, so Wilson says vaccinated people should pay attention to even mild symptoms like a cough and get tested. Hospitals across the country are filling up with COVID cases. In Texas, more than 90% of the ICU beds across the state are full. There are only slightly more than 24 ICU beds that are available in the Houston area, a region of more than 6.5 million people. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis now plans to roll out mobile monoclonal antibody treatment units to treat a surge of COVID patients. Beautiful weather, it seemed, today compared to the last few days. Nick Kelly joining us.
Certainly, you can describe that with our temperatures, Chris. We were pushing upper 90s yesterday. Don't know why the almanac didn't pop up, but I will tell you, we did hit just the upper 80s for today, a lot better than the 98 that we saw yesterday. I've been keeping an eye on the radar network all evening long, but any thunderstorms we had late this afternoon and evening have been in our southern counties south of I-44, but now that activity has really started to wane on down, but we still have a frontal boundary in place. That's going to try and keep a random storm or two for the next couple of afternoons as we go through the rest of the weekend. But temperatures are looking pretty good, 72 in Nevada and maybe even 78 in Commerce, but we're not done dropping off just yet. We'll get rid of any remaining rain chances in our southern counties. We'll have lows dropping back near 70, and how about this? 87 for tomorrow afternoon with maybe a stray storm possible. We'll see if we can keep these numbers going for the week ahead here in a bit, Chris.
All right, Nick, thank you. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation is offering a reward for anyone who can give them information to help a 47-year-old cold case. The reward is $10,000. The case is the 1974 murder of Tina Mae Duffel. Now, Duffel was found dead in Prairie Dog Pond, about a half-mile northwest of Quapaw. Investigators believe Duffel was either abducted or left with someone from the C&D grocery store in Quapaw, where she was working at the time of her murder. The autopsy revealed she had stab wounds to her neck. Anyone with information is asked to contact the OSBI. Missouri Highway Patrol says a Miller, Missouri woman died in a crash on I-44 near Mount Vernon. The patrol's crash report says Demetra Montz drove her car off the road and the car overturned. Montz died at the scene. The Highway Patrol is also reporting the death of an Orinoco man on Stockton Lake. Authorities say Stephen Courtney was wading into the water and fell into a deep area and never resurfaced. Courtney was 51 years old. The Pentagon says most of the 3,000 American soldiers deployed to Afghanistan to evacuate U.S. Embassy personnel in Kabul will be on the ground by the end of the weekend. The situation there is rapidly deteriorating, with the Taliban taking more territory overnight. Natalie Brand has the latest from Washington.
U.S. troops are beginning to arrive in Afghanistan as the Taliban accelerates its offensive, now holding more than a dozen provincial capitals, including Kandahar, the country's second largest city. A defense official says the capital of Kabul could be threatened within 30 days or possibly sooner.
It appears as if they are trying to get Kabul isolated. We've planned for a lot of contingencies, and this was certainly one of them.
CBS News senior national security contributor and former acting CIA director Michael Morrell says the capability of terrorists in Afghanistan is going to increase rapidly over the next several months.
We have to figure out a way to collect intelligence without an embassy.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has asked the Biden administration to brief members on the situation when they return the week of August 23rd. President Biden has defended his decision to withdraw U.S. combat troops by the end of the month.
They've got to fight for themselves, fight for their nation.
I lost my right arm below the elbow.
Veteran Mike McElhenney was part of a special forces team on the ground in southern Afghanistan after 9/11.
There was a lot of, blood and treasure spilled over there. We can't continue to send, kids and generations over there. And for what?
McElhenney calls the current situation surreal to watch, but says he believes it's time to get out.
Today, NATO allies met to discuss the situation in Afghanistan. Afterwards, the Secretary General said in a statement, NATO will maintain its diplomatic presence in Kabul and adjust as necessary, and he warned the Taliban it would not be recognized by the international community if it takes the country by force. Police have identified the attacker that killed at least 5 people yesterday in Britain's worst mass shooting in more than a decade. The shooter, 22-year-old Jake Davison, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The rampage happened in Plymouth, southwest England. Victims ranged in age from 3 to 66. Now, according to police, one of the victims was the shooter's mother. Police don't have a motive as of yet. Still ahead, it's move-in day for Missouri Southern students. We'll hear from them about starting off the school year. And downtown Fort Scott is now cleaner and more artistic thanks to this community gathering.
It's time.com.
MSSU was busy today as students moved back to campus. Earlier in the summer, it was looking like the school year wouldn't see quite as many pandemic restrictions, but the Delta variant has changed that. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to students and parents to find out how they feel about campus coronavirus safety.
There was no shortage of students and parents unpacking and saying their goodbyes for Move-In Day 2021 at MSSU. But with the Delta variant raging throughout the country and the four-state area, last year's campus pandemic restrictions were back as well. But the students who spoke to KOAM seemed to be taking it in stride.
I think we're doing the same safety measures we did last year to ensure that we don't have a big COVID spread, especially in the housing department. I think we're taking the right precautions. And of course, it helps that there's also vaccines, but also with the Delta variant, who knows? So going back to the mask idea, it's a good idea.
A big difference this school year is that COVID-19 vaccines are available, and many vaccinated students say that helps them focus on school instead of worrying about the pandemic.
Honestly, I feel it takes us a little bit of a load off because granted there is a small chance I could still get it, but I feel a little bit more safer knowing that I'd have at least a fighting chance and a better chance of not getting it.
And it's not just students whose minds are at ease thanks to the vaccine. Parents who spoke to KOAM say the shot is making it a lot easier to say goodbye to their kids.
I don't have any concerns about it. Like I say, we've been vaccinated.
But it's not just the vaccinated who are feeling safe moving into campus. Churchill Williams V, who admits he hasn't been vaccinated but is thinking about it, says he feels protected on campus because of how seriously his fellow students are taking the pandemic.
People don't really just be so crowded up together, because they already know the pandemic is going on, so they're pretty aware to not be so close to others. So everybody's been doing a good job being safe and wearing their mask and, just playing everything cool.
In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Students moving onto campus today had one of four options. They could show proof of vaccination, proof of a negative test within the last 72 hours, proof of fully recovering from COVID-19 within the last 90 days, or they could get tested during check-in and then quarantine. The city of Fort Scott, Kansas today hosted its community cleanup. We went there to learn how the effort brought some restoration and newfound beauty to the community.
Art is subjective. To many, these sounds are obnoxious. But today in Fort Scott, this was the beautiful sound of a community coming together with one goal: beautifying their home.
This is the best thing about small town, is when people just come together.
The Fort Scott Chamber of Commerce hosted a downtown cleanup. They invited out the entire community to help, and boy did they respond.
Almost 300 kids, students from the local community college, which is just amazing because a lot of these kids do not live here.
Volunteers were getting their hands dirty, cleaning up flower beds, doing a little weed eating, leaf blowing, and painting. That's right. Some of the beauty in today's event was less subjective and more obvious.
So we have two local artist groups that are here.
There are now 2 new murals in downtown Fort Scott, and while the work is done for now,
this is really great. I know we're going to do this again.
And that's good news for the volunteers and artists who got the chance to see the beauty of their neighbors' community spirit.
It's really cool for the town of Fort Scott.
This is great stewardship that people are doing.
The chamber provided all the necessary tools, including paintbrushes, weed eaters, and rakes. Later, McDonald County football looks to build off of some of last year's successes. We're going to check in on them in sports.
Plus, it was nice to see a little dip in temperatures today. Can't we keep it going through the weekend, though? Forecast up next.
Your local Chevy dealer.
Even though we trended a bit cooler, we had to do it at the expense of a lot of cloud cover, certainly more compared to the past few days, and even some scattered rain and storms at times, off and on throughout parts of the day. But for the most part, it looked as though Indigo Sky Casino and Resort outside of Seneca, Missouri, kept things pretty quiet overall. In fact, you kept dodging not only the morning round of rain and storms overall, that was for our northern counties, but as Doug advertised, late this afternoon and evening, our southern counties, south of Seneca. That's where all the action was as we continue through the afternoon and to get this evening underway. Overall, though, radar estimates suggesting about an inch of rain on average. Of course, some of you didn't see a drop, or hardly a drop, while certainly the heavier amounts were in our northern counties from last night's storms, and a thin stripe for areas south of US 60 because of the afternoon and evening round of rain and thunderstorms. And as they got going, they were actually a little bit severe, especially across a good portion of Benton County in northwestern Arkansas. But the radar has really calmed down in terms of whatever activity is still out there. If we do just a quick little tour for you here. Any light rain still trying to hold together, mainly from Grand Lake down south. Then you hop over towards southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. Still this massive rain, but finally moving away from the Bull Shoals. but has to work through West Plains and areas close to southeastern Missouri as we go through the rest of the overnight. 97, definitely hot, and holy cow, it was humid yesterday as well. But we dropped to near 70 this morning, highs around 88, still a bit warm, but we'll take it considering we didn't have to deal with upper 90s once again today. 75 at Joplin, humidity sitting at 82%. Everyone's still mainly in the mid 70s, but we're going to continue to drop back near 70 as we get a break in our rain chances as we go through the rest of the night. More concentrated rain across southern Oklahoma and parts of Arkansas, but our frontal boundary is still stalled out right on top of the region. Couple that with a few weak waves still trying to pass along on the jet stream level. That's going to try and keep an afternoon storm or two in the forecast for the next few days. But you can see how the future track wants any lingering showers out of here before we hit sunrise. So we'll drop lows near 70. And then we'll go into the mid to upper 80s for an overall okay day tomorrow. 70 in the morning, 81 by noon, afternoon highs around 87. Note the thunderstorm icon for the afternoon though. You don't see it on the future track here, but on the tail end of the afternoon and evening, maybe a stray storm or two. That's about it. And we'll do it again for Saturday. Mid 60s for highs. I'm thinking mid 80s here. And again, maybe a stray storm or two. Interesting setup though at the jet stream level as we head toward Monday. This upper low wants to start developing across Kansas on Monday. So after we deal with the stray storm for Monday, this low as it develops on top of us will actually start to give us better chances for scattered storms, especially by Tuesday and Wednesday. But these temperatures, Chris, they're looking a lot better compared to where we've been. 87 tomorrow, 86 Sunday, staying in the upper 80s, goodness, Monday through Wednesday. We'll have to go back to 92 Thursday, but then the front by Friday knocks us back into the mid-80s.
It's hard to get out of that trend of saying the upper 90s when that's where we've been for a while.
Hey, I want to say 80s instead of 90s.
Hey, we're good with that. Nick, thank you so much. Well, coming up in sports, McDonald County football team aims to compete for a conference title this fall. We'll hear from the team. Plus, Royals and Cardinals begin their series in Kansas City. Jacob Leonard's got that and more next.
Learn more at connecttoculture.org.
The McDonald County Mustangs are wrapping up their first week of fall football practice. Now, McDonald County has a little momentum for the first time in a while after going 5-5 and winning their first ever playoff game last season. Now, the Mustangs have plenty of guys back and plenty of experience. They have 7 starters back on offense and 8 on defense, with 16 seniors on the roster. Now, those seniors are excited to have some momentum for their final year, and they're hoping their years of hard work pay off this fall.
There's a lot of our guys last year to play football, in their careers maybe, so definitely, want to not let anybody down, do the best we can, make the most of it.
I mean, it's our last year, so we put it all out there.
This is their last chance, and I think they know that, and you can kind of feel that sense of urgency from them, and that just trickles down all the way down through our freshmen as well, and you can just feel that sense of urgency, like it's go time. We need to bring that consistency every single day.
Now, McDonald County opens the season at home on the 27th, hosting the Aurora Hound Dogs. Former Webb City standout Landon Beebe has been named an offensive captain for Missouri State football. Beebe earned all conference honors last year as a sophomore and is heading into his 4th year playing on the Bears offensive line. We caught up with the former Cardinal to talk about what it means to be named a captain for this fall.
It's extremely special to me because, I'm in there in the trenches with them, putting my hand in the dirt with them every single day. So just to be recognized like that on a high level from your teammates just is extremely special to me. I'm one of those guys who leads with, my play instead of, yelling at guys, trying to get guys going. But, I've been working on that, just trying to be more of a motivator to my fellow offensive linemen and my fellow offensive players.
Beebe was a 2-time All-State selection for Webb City, helping the Cardinals to an undefeated state championship season as a senior in 2017. You can check out our full story with Beebe on the sports page at KOAMNewsNow.com. Well, St. Louis Cardinals and Kansas City Royals meet for the 2nd time this season tonight in Kansas City. Now, the Cards took 2 out of 3 from the Royals in their first meeting last week. Game 1 tonight, St. Louis aiming for 4 straight wins. Jack Flaherty, really good start on the mound for the Cards. Carlos Santana goes down. Then Hunter Dozier's turn in the 3rd now. Gerard Dyson frozen. Flaherty goes 6, allows just 2 hits, strikes out 5. For the 4th now, Nolan Arenado takes Mike Minor deep for the solo home run. His 23rd. Cards up 1. Very next batter, Tyler O'Neill makes it back-to-back jacks, and Kansas City didn't score. Cards winning a shutout tonight, 6-0. That's it for sports. We're back with more news after this.
We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Torpedoman 3rd Class Stephen Molitor served in the Navy from 1942 to 46, his hometown, Seneca. We're proud to recognize Torpedoman 3rd Class Stephen Molitor, tonight's four-state hero. Of course, learn more about other heroes. Submit one of your own at any time. Just go to our website. That's KOAMNewsNow.com. Well, a collection of artwork worth millions of dollars is hanging up in plain sight, not in a museum, but in a Las Vegas restaurant. MGM Resorts and Sotheby's have teamed up to auction off 11 pieces of art done by Pablo Picasso. The collection, estimated to be worth more than $104 million, includes paintings, works on paper, and a ceramic piece. The pieces have been on display at the restaurant Picasso inside the Bellagio Resort and Casino for more than 20 years. The collection hits the auction block on October 23rd.
It was kind of funny, like we bring up Picasso and we were actually, don't know why, talking about Wheel of Fortune. I remember as an old bonus round prize, they actually had like a unveiled Picasso painting that somebody won that went for like $10,000 or $20,000. So
that's not bad.
Those Picasso paintings, they can go for a lot of money.
I feel like I'm not going to be able to participate in this auction, but I'm going to send Jacob Leonard because,
yeah,
I mean, he's made of gold right here.
No, not even close. Not close, man.
Nick, final check of that forecast.
We're going to thankfully stay in the upper 80s for the rest of the weekend. We'll keep an eye on a random storm or two tomorrow and Sunday.
Sounds good. Mr. Leonard, final check in sports.
We've been waiting so long for it. Chiefs football tomorrow night. First preseason game against the 49ers. Game starts at 7:30.
It's
officially
again.
fall.
No
As soon as they play, it's officially fall. Guys, thank you so much. That is our time for now. We're going to see you back here tomorrow night. Thank you for making us part of your night.
Salon service is provided